49.03 puts him 10th.
Chris Myers.
Mike, guys, best Daytona 500 finish for Vickers, 7th in 2006, but at the age of 27, Mike and the guys referenced, you talk about a comeback. Here's a guy who had heart surgery in July, thankful to be back in a car, but very competitive. What's he going through in this comeback?
Right now, he's like a kid in a candy store. This kid, he lives the life of a daredevil. I mean, he jumps out of airplanes, he flies stunt planes. He loves living on the edge. And the bad thing about it, when he went down last year, I think the whole Red Bull organization went with him. I believe they rally around him, and this year coming back and putting him in this seat along with Casey Kane as his teammate, these guys are going to put on a pretty good show and make a pretty good run for being up in the championship.
Yeah, Vickers tweeted today that he played golf this morning. He's going to run here. He'll drive back to Fort Lauderdale, so he's very relaxed. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick tweeted today. He said, pretty easy day, Jeff. Probably don't have a pole-winning car, but should be decent.
Well, this is what we've been expecting. We know that Richard Childers Racing, along with ECR engines, Earnhardt Childers engines have been very, very strong at the restrictor plates. And we thought these guys would be challenging. But for some reason, I think his 29 car, a lot like when he won the 500 a couple years ago, is a better race car than it is a qualifying car. And I think Kevin realizes that early on.
And Mike, Joe Girardi, Yankee manager, big race fan, he texted Harvick after Homestead, Miami, saying he had a great season, but he still couldn't figure out why Harvick didn't win a championship. I think Harvick might be wondering the same about Girardi, but he has his eye in that direction once again.
Kevin Harvick won the regular season last year. He was leading the points after 26 races. He piled up 26 top 10s and wound up a career best third in the chase for the Sprint Cup. When Harvick won the 500, he started 34th. And I think Darrell hit it right on the head during our practice coverage on Speed yesterday. This is not a car that's set up to qualify. This is a car that's set up to win.
Yeah, and you can come down here, and Larry knows this. You come down here with a car, it's really slick. It's the least amount of downforce, the least amount of drag, and it's going to qualify pretty darn good. When you get in the race like we saw last night and you get cars all around you, that thing's going to be a handful, hard to drive. I believe they compromise with their car when they come. Bring car with little downforce, qualify decent, but race great.
Harvick has the 5th fastest first lap so far.
It looks like he's on track that's about what his second lap is going to be, somewhere right around 5th or 6th. Kevin's a huge Green Bay Packers fan, actually was at the Super Bowl last week out in Dallas.
Yeah, he and Daytona, his wife, they love hockey. They go to hockey games, they watch that. Daytona's always tweeting about the hockey team.
Well, 5th is where he lands at a 48.71. That's 184.7 miles per hour. Chevrolet's in all the top 5 positions right now. And something's being brought out toward Jamie McMurray's car. Steve?
Mike, that would be a seat insert. You heard Jamie McMurray say that they crashed their Daytona 500 car yesterday. This is a safety precaution. They did pull the car out of line. These seats are made by carbon fiber, but they do have inserts to fit the driver, and they put a brand new one in just actually to accommodate the seat belts.
Well, I think Jamie pretty much mentioned in his interview a while ago how much this team had to go through. Plus, they also had to deal with preparing and racing the Budweiser shootout car last night. So I think with changing the engine this morning, maybe that's the one thing that just kind of slipped through the cracks.
And you do not want to go on the racetrack, even when you're all by yourself and in qualifying race, oh, it'll be okay. You cannot have that attitude. Safety is a top priority all the time. Anytime you get in that race car, everything has to be right. I think it's a great call to put in the car, in the seat, what he needs. Be comfortable and be safe.
McMurray climbing back in. Owner Chip Ganassi looking on, and they're going to get him strapped back in and ready to run as Joey Logano is on track. The youngest driver ever to start a 500 at 18 years, 8 months, and 22 days in 2009. He started 9th that day, finished 43rd, started 16th in last year's 500. Krista?
Marcus Ambrose is from Tasmania. Is there anything down under that compares to the Daytona 500?
Not compared to last night for that race with the 2x2 deal. That was very entertaining, very different. I'm trying to work out whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but we're really excited about 2011. We've got a brand new suit on with Stanley on board. We've got a new team back in the Ford Racing family, so I'm really excited. and we're finally here. You know, it's been a really long off season for us, and just can't wait to get started.
We love seeing the smile. Thanks.
Ambrose drove Fords in Australia to the Touring Car Supercar Championship there before coming stateside. Joey Logano at 49.66 on lap 1. That's about middle ground for that first lap.
Based on what we saw in the Budweiser shootout, I think the Joe Gibbs Toyotas in particular, I don't know that they're going to start up near the front in those dual races or in the Daytona 500 next week, but I think they're going to be bad fast in the race.
Logano will start his third 500. Next Sunday, you'll see it live right here on Fox. Kind of a retro paint scheme for Joey Logano, harkening back to the start of Joe Gibbs racing in the Sprint Cup Series. Checkered flag, 12th for Logano with a 49.12, 183.2. Coming up, David Gilliland, Jamie McMurray, Paul Menard, and Juan Montoya.
Daytona 500 qualifying on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
The Chevrolets of Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman currently hold the front row that will be set today for the 500. Here is the Ford of David Gilliland out of Riverside, California. Since the first Daytona 500, only 4 drivers have won the 500 pole on their first try. Gilliland the most recent of those. But today he clocks in 13th at a 49.26, 182.7 miles per hour. Dick?
Put in perspective for us with you, Will Brian Vickers, what it's like to not only beat a life-threatening illness, but also be ready for the Daytona 500.
Is it okay to say I can? I don't know if I can. You know, what I've gone through this past year has been hard and it's been incredible, but I've learned a tremendous amount from it, and very thankful for the experience, and I'm happy to be starting the Daytona 500 again.
We are so glad to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. It is a great story. So much more to be written on Brian Vickers. The other great story of 2010 was this young man from Missouri, Jamie McMurray, a cast-off from Roush Fenway Racing, returned to Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates, and all he did was win the 2 biggest races of the year, the Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400, and he added the October race at Charlotte for good measure. It was a dream season for McMurray. He did not make the chase for the Sprint Cup, but under this year's rules, which take the top 10 in points and the next 2 drivers in the top 20 who have won the most races, McMurray would have qualified for the chase. So you can be one of those Pointer sisters, or you can just go out and win races like McMurray did last year, and you'll be in the chase. He is the defending champion of the Daytona 500, which you will see right here on Fox next Sunday. Pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut beginning at noon Eastern Time.
You know, the biggest thing about the Daytona 500 is every single year we come down here, and we've been doing it with NASCAR on Fox since 2001. Someone always catches us by surprise, just like Jamie McMurray did last year. Matt Kenseth the year before, Ryan Newman before. If you think about it, the last 10 Daytona 500s, we've had 9 different winners. There's always someone that pops up like a surprise by the time we get down here.
Yeah, they're landmark events. You know, the World Series, the Super Bowl, the Kentucky Derby, and the Daytona 500. It's on the same plateau.
Is it a coincidence that last night the 2 cars who finished up front in that tandem draft for the last part of that race were owned by 2 fellas who regularly duke it out in open wheel racing, Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi?
Now, you know, those 2 guys I think have really worked hard, and we've heard Roger and Chip both say, I'm just trying to establish myself here. They've been here a long darn time. I don't know how long they think it takes, but I think that was another one of those efforts last night, working together. Look, if one of us can win, it's going to make both of us look good.
Checkered flag for Jamie Mack. 8th quickest, 48.99, 183.6 miles an hour. Krista?
Trevor Bayne getting some advice from Ford driver Greg Biffle, and we know how